everything is workable, of course, with money and
Yeah,
expertise.
and even, that's the point. That's the point my dad even mentioned. He said, you you watch these, even the national news, like, or even the presidential or states, they do the press things like once a day or once a week, and then they're all live streaming. Even with those huge, high budget camera systems, they're still having issues. They're still having glitches, and things might not work, or things might get bogged down during a live stream. So they're still running into issues even with the most expensive, products. So there's a lot of unknowns to work around. So it makes it more complicated. But yeah, if you're just doing a live stream of yourself, at your home, it makes it a lot easier. But there's things you can do to make it easier, as far as like get your Ethernet connection and do some simple things like that.
Let's get to a jam right now. Let's play Love and Biscuits. Let's cook up a little dinner right now. That is a cool tune. Tell us how that would come to be, how that making dinner. Biscuits. Yeah. Did you write that?
So
go ahead.
That's the one that Tony wrote that one too. So he's got a friend that lives down, I think it's somewhere like down in the Delta or the South, and his friend was an artist, and he sent him a painting, and then and Tony said, hey, before you send the painting, send me your your biscuits recipe, your Southern biscuits homemade recipe. So he wrote the recipe in the back of the painting. So Tony said he was sitting in his rocking chair, kind of reading the recipe. 2 cups of flour, and he started humming. He started humming the recipe into a melody, and then he wrote the song called "Love and Biscuits," and that's how it became the song.
Oh my gosh, it's classic. Here it is. Let's go. Love and Biscuits. We'll be right back.
Cup of flour, 4 teaspoon baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon baking soda, 3/4 salt, 2 tablespoon butter, 2 tablespoons sugar, and then mix it with 1 cup of buttermilk. Yeah, I'm baking biscuits, they loving biscuits, on the south of all the negativity. Gonna make some biscuits, they loving biscuits, and then share them all with everyone to see. Ooh, come on. Granny and I made some nasty recipes. I have cursed and lied and cheated, Lord, I've sinned. But I stand up and own my mistake. You gotta cook up in the kitchen you are in. You gotta cook up in the kitchen you are in. Yeah, I'm making biscuits, they love biscuits, on the south of all the negativity. Gonna make some biscuits, they love biscuits, and then share them all with everyone to see. Woo, come on, yeah. Break it down. Take away from here, is judge nobody but the body in your skin. Come on now, get up, that rooster's calling. Ain't about time we cook together for change. Ain't about time we cook together for change. Ooh, ain't about time we cook together for change. Make them be scared, they love and be scared. On the south of all the negativity. Gonna make some be scared, they love and be scared. And then share them all whatever wanna see. Come on, yeah, come on.
There it is, baby. We made that biscuit. Lovin' Biscuit, Tony Cacelli and Joe Flip. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
That is a cool mix, man. I love that. It's nuts. That's all that tin can guitar, huh?
Yeah. The good old Hayburner oil can guitar.
The other thing I was going to talk about is the thickness of the steel. I'm old school. Hey, back in the day, soda cans, man, they were steel. You couldn't crush them. I mean, at all.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was thinking the big barrel, you can find some serious old tin can. And that'll be a deep bass kind of guy. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, we noticed that with like some of the oil cans, they're pretty flimsy, but then all of a sudden one oil can, you could just tell, man, this thing is like rugged. or some of the oil cans, like you normally, you see all these warning labels, like, keep out of reach of, your eyes and, all that kind of stuff, all these warning labels. And then one oil can, it was the same brand, but my friend Mike, who builds them with me, he said, hey, look, this one doesn't have any warning labels. And I didn't notice it at first, but there was no warning labels. And then we looked at the zip code, the address of the company. There was no zip code on there. So we did some research, and I think zip codes came out like in 1971. Mm-hmm. So this one didn't have any zip codes or any warning labels. So that told us that this can was probably pretty old.
You got it. They did everything back then. Put your hands in everything.
Yeah.
Anyways, my friend, let's talk about that Memphis Challenge again. That is like the relay races of blues music. Mark Harmon, Dee Miller were on the show. I had a chance to talk to them about that. Tell the audience about how that works.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I think there's like, 100 or 200 blues societies all around the world. And so every blues society does a blues challenge with a full band category and a duo category. So each society has their own kind of, regional, local competition. And they pick one winner the judges will pick one winner per category. So, for example, I live in Minnesota, so they had the Minnesota Blues Challenge, and then we were the winner in the duo category, and then the Dee Miller Band was the winner in the full band category. And then they take each winner from each society, each blues society, all over the world, and then they send them down to Memphis, International Blues Challenge, and then they do a lot of fundraisers to help you raise some money to pay for your expenses to get down there, and then they have all these they have all the acts performed back to back, like all night long, all day long, all week long. And it's kind of like a tournament bracket where judges pick, winners that move on, and they narrow it down from 200 acts all the way down to like the top 1, top 2, top 3, which those judges have a tough time. I wouldn't want to be those judges because there's so much amazing talent down there. And it's a lot of fun. You get nonstop action, and then when you're not performing, of course we try to take in the Memphis scene as much as we can. I stopped in there's a couple blues jams that they have down there, and they're just packed, because there's so many musicians that want to jam. And I found this one blues jam that was kind of off the beaten path. I ended up hanging out with those guys till like 3 a.m, jamming with these guys from all over the country, and we just had a blast playing blues all night long, improvising.
That's cool. I've heard a lot about that's Beale Street. That's big Beale Street.
Yeah, Beale Street. Huh?
And
it's a great time.
Now, the one thing that was unique that I heard that you got like 20 minutes to set up. I mean, like you get real short notice to when you're playing, so it's kind of like the pit stops, so should I say, in music, huh?
Yeah, it's challenging because you have so many acts, and there's so much down to the wire for time management purposes, from the judges to the venues to the talents. So you get there, and I think each show goes from like around 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So you want to check in early, around 4ish or whatever, or 3 o'clock, and then they kind of tell you what the order of the performers are that night. So you want to get there early, and then you find out your times, and then you might not be able to, you might not perform till later, but you can't really wander off too far. So that you don't want to miss your spot. So I'm kind of anal with like time management. So I'm like, we have to get there early, and we have to make sure we get there, man. No excuses. I don't want to get stuck with a flat tire or anything. So you get there, you check in, and find our spot, and then we rented a house that was about a half hour away. So it's like, well, we don't really have much time to drive there and drive back. So we kind of sat around and just kind of waited our turn, and then did our thing, and it was a blast. We got to meet all kinds of different musicians from all over the world. It's really cool.
Yeah, Richard Cushing from Free World, he was on my show a couple weeks ago, and he says he's been down there for like 40 years, and he was telling me the stories that he's an open jam. He's got an open jam, and musicians all over the place come. So when you were talking about that, himself and all the people that you meet, it's just a great collaboration. He was telling me it's more of a place to cultivate your art, should I say, Memphis. For like, unlike Nashville, maybe it's more publicity, kind of a star kind of a thing. Memphis, that's what he was telling me. More of a home to give home your skills.
Yeah, because Memphis, that was the only time I was there, and I was obviously pretty spoiled going down there during the IBCs. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I think like there's pros and cons of each town, but I think some of the negatives of Nashville is it's almost so oversaturated with musicians that from like a business aspect, it makes it kind of challenging. There's pros and cons both ways, but if you're trying to gig for a living, it makes it kind of challenging because it drives the price down. So that's why everyone always says it's kind of hard to play your typical gigs as far as making decent money out there. But there's obviously a lot of positives to it too, with the networking and all kinds of a lot of the big wigs obviously live down there too.
It's a great stuff, great cities of music and country and rock and blues, and it all comes down to that side. And that brings us to a great collaboration you have, Amazing Grace. Tell us about that one. That's the next tune we want to play, and you're featured artist.
Oh yeah, man. So Indiara Sapphire, if you guys don't know her, check her out on YouTube. People always ask how to spell her name or pronounce it, but it's like Indiana with an R, so Indiara, and then her last name is like fair, like a state fair, but with an S in front of it. So she's a